Hi, this is Jess Mahler, and this is my screencast for Module 6, Space and Technology. So I started off by trying to use Classroom Architect, but Google Chrome no longer supports Adobe Flash. So I Googled other classroom architects, and I kind of ran into the same issue, but I did find this one from Kaplan. And I thought it was really cool because it was 3D and it had a lot of very stylistic features. Like, for example, I changed the colors of the couches and the carpet. I got to choose the color. So I liked that. Um, as far as creating my learning space, I designed it for a class that I teach, which is a learning support reading class that has 12 students, learning support students. And it is small group instruction, so that is why I do not have that many students in the room at one time. The type of blended learning that I'll be using for my Read 180 class is a station rotation model, which that is how the curriculum was designed. So in the back here, I have each of the computers. And in a previous chapter, it mentioned how teachers should have the computers with the screens facing where they can see at all times. And that just helps with monitoring and making sure that students are on task. From a student perspective, if I know that somebody is watching me, I'm probably going to, do what I'm supposed to, as compared to if somebody wasn't watching me, I don't know if I would be doing all of the things that I am supposed to. So that is for one of the rotations. They'll be back there working on the independent software on the computers. Another rotation that I have set up is over here. I set up kind of like a reading corner, and I have different options for students to sit. So I have a comfy couch, two comfy chairs, and then I have some like little cafe chairs and a little cafe table. I also put a carpet in this area because some students like to sit on the floor. Even my middle school students, they will ask to sit some really ridiculous places in my classroom whenever I ask them to read. And my thought process is, you know what, as long as they're reading and, focused on their work, I don't really care where they sit as long as they're being safe. So I thought this was a nice little reading nook that I included in this blended learning classroom. And that will be another one of the rotations is independent reading for Read 180. And the last rotation is up front here. I have a small group instruction table, and this can be either a teacher-led activity or it could also be a collaborative group activity that students will work together to complete an assignment or a project. So those are my three areas. So students will be assigned to a specific group and will rotate throughout the room. As suggested in chapter 9 about station rotations, it suggested that you change the groups regularly so that students don't perceive that there's like a smart group or a dumb group. By switching that up, they don't really catch on to that sort of thing. So that's what I would do to break the students up into groups. I would also have a list of objectives at each of the stations. So a couple different ways that the book provided was that you can do a print set of explanations or directions, just, type it out and put it at each station. And they also said using a checkbox would be pretty helpful because then students can monitor their progress at each of the stations and kind of, check it off as they go. Another option they provided was to create a Google Doc, and this allows teachers to be able to put the directions and pictures and screenshots and any pertinent links that go along with the assignment all right in one place in that Google Doc. Another suggestion for directions was to create a video that has the instructions and objectives and has the students scan a QR code to get to the video. And I thought that was really neat because I, have scanned things with QR codes before, but I've never really used them in my classroom. So I thought that would be a cool way to, actually get the students to look at the directions and listen to it. I find that sometimes when I just put directions on a piece of paper, students don't always read it. So I think by having something fun and exciting, like a QR code, students can use their cell phones to scan it and actually, listen to the directions and understand what they're supposed to be doing. And the last suggestion is to use a flipped classroom model to help students prepare for the lesson beforehand as homework. Now, with Read 180, I don't know if I'll necessarily be able to teach direct instruction that way. However, I could have students preview vocabulary words or preview different prefixes and suffixes that we will be studying in the upcoming lessons. Something else that was discussed in the text is to provide some sort of cue for students when they are rotating throughout the room to help with the transition. This wasn't really something that I could draw onto here, so I just wanted to mention it. In my ideal classroom, I would have different timers set up throughout the room that will give the students both a visual and an auditory cue of when to rotate to the next station. The book also suggested turning on and off the lights or having chimes, a bell, or music. But I think just having, timers throughout will accomplish both the visual and auditory aspect of cueing the students of when to rotate and help facilitate that transition. So when I did the overview, I mentioned that this was either a teacher-led instruction group or a student collaborative group. If the teacher is not leading a small group instruction group, they will be, circulating throughout the room and ensuring that all groups are on task, answering questions, working with those struggling groups. The teacher can also pull individual students and provide one-on-one support during this time. And as always, they'll be able to provide feedback, explain concepts, and model different processes to any student in the room at this time. If they are working in a teacher-led small instruction group, then they will be, leading the instruction there and helping those students, but they'll still be able to help any student in the room if an issue arises. So I think that the station rotation would be best for this Read 180 curriculum. I liked the benefits that the book mentioned. One of the benefits is that it creates a smaller learning community, so students get to work together with a smaller group rather than the larger class. Students are exposed to a variety of tasks and activities, so it's not so monotonous and repetitive. And it also makes it possible for teachers to spend more time working with those individual students and helping any student that needs additional support. I also thought it was important to include the individual software rotation because this software customizes to individual learners and provides assistance to them and helps fill those learning gaps. It also accelerates if students are mastering the concepts. It will accelerate to more challenging concepts. So overall, I think I designed this space neatly and organized in a way that is conducive to the station rotation model of blended learning. I enjoyed in Chapter 9 how it mentioned Howard Gardner. Gardner wanted teachers to teach materials in several ways, and he referred to this as pluralizing teaching. By utilizing the station rotation, this allows students to access the materials in several different ways so that they are able to learn in a way that is best for their different learning modalities. For the remainder of my screencast, I will be reviewing neok12.com, which is an online blended learning platform that you can use with your students. So this was listed as one of the websites on the Google Doc that we had to sign up for. It was one that I was not familiar with, so that's why I picked it. One of the reasons why. It's very easy to get to. It's just neok12.com. And students can log on and play quiz games, interactive diagrams, flowcharts, vocabulary games. They can create presentations, do different puzzles and other sort of brain games on here. So there's a variety of learning tools. In addition, you can use it for your classroom, and I'll show you some of these tools in a minute here. So there's a lot of different activities for the students to complete in order to further their learning. And these are all independent activities that they can do in a blended learning station rotation or just on their own time. If they do like a self-paced lesson, they can do this. I really like the website. However, most of the things on here you have to pay for. So scrolling down here, you can click on this link, which says free games and activities. So here's the list of free things, which as you can see is not nearly as long as the list on the front page, which are all the things you have to pay for. So I'll just click in here and just show you one of these things. So for a quiz game, we'll do, how about parts of the water cycle? So they'll have to click the question card and then the answer card and match them together. So here is the end of the quiz. And if you scroll down below, I purposely got some wrong just to show that it will actually show you your score, not just, hey, 100% you completed the puzzle. So it shows you your score. And then it also provides a video so that if students want to score higher, they can watch a video and maybe try it again. So I thought this was pretty cool. It, gave feedback to the students right away and then also provided additional resources so that they can further their knowledge on the topic. Now, while these resources are great, they don't really offer a variety of different subject areas. The free resources really focus on basically like science and maybe a little bit of history here and there. But if you paid for a subscription, you can access a lot of different subject areas. So again, here's the major list of all the different subject areas and different topics that are covered. Obviously, it's a lot longer than the free list, so they're really trying to get you to pay for their subscription. Now, the subscription is actually not that expensive. If you went with the teacher plan, you'll get 1 year of access for $29.95, and 30 students will be able to access the website. They'll give you a password that you can share with your students, and then they can all access the website and play those educational games and use those flow charts and things like that. There's also other options if you wanted to add more students onto it. And there's also an individual plan if you just wanted to use it at home or maybe on one desktop computer in the classroom. You could also open up this link here. It opens up a school order form. So they give discounts if you purchase 5 or more. So that might be something to look into if you can get some other teachers on board with using the software. You could get a discount using that school order form. All right, and I just want to dive a little bit deeper into what the subscription content will get you. So I'll just pick a random topic here. We'll go with fractions and decimals underneath math. So here we have a variety of different math games broken down by basic skills that you want to focus on. So this could be something that students can work on individually, or you can pair it with whatever lesson that you are teaching. If you scroll down, there's a variety of different videos and lessons that are uploaded here that are easy to use, and a lot of them are relatively short. 3 minutes, 5 minutes. This one's 11 minutes, but generally they're short enough that it'll get to the point, show the students what they need to do, and hopefully make it click for them. Now, the videos down here are all free because they're just found from YouTube. They are reviewed by K-12 teachers, so they are reliable. But again, they're free, so you don't have to pay for that with the subscription. However, all of these games up here, you do have to pay for. There were maybe a couple listed on that free list, but unfortunately, none for fractions and decimals. So these you have to pay for. This technology is not really adaptive, meaning it won't really go to where the student's level is. That's something that you as the teacher have to look at the student and figure out what level they're at and figure out what they need to do in order to master that concept. So the technology itself does not adapt. The teacher is in charge of doing that. Also doesn't really differentiate instruction either because of that. So again, that's something that falls on the teacher to do. I think it is pretty engaging to have these different games. I know my students in the classroom, they always want to play games if they have some free time. So I think by adding these learning games in, it does motivate them and engage them in the learning content rather than, just lecturing them. And if I were to pay for a subscription, when the students log in, they will only see the games and videos that I have bookmarked for them. So, depending on what topic it is, I could go in ahead of time and bookmark those things so that when my students log in, they'll see, 3 or 4 items that is the focus for the lesson, and they know that they need to work on those things. Now, I haven't really figured out a way to view any class data, and I'm not sure if they just don't do that on this website or if I have to pay for it with a subscription. But I assume that once the students finish a game, it gives them the score, but it doesn't really log it anywhere for the teacher to use. So that would be something that is a bit of a downside for this. Teachers can't really assess progress unless the students are showing them their scores. So, maybe one way that they can do this is when they get to the end of their quiz or their game, whatever they're playing, they can maybe take a screenshot and then send that to the teacher. So that is one way that they can keep track of the data. But this website is not really easy to do that. So taking a screenshot would be probably the best way to get that data across to the teacher. So this website seems compatible with, all school devices. Right now I'm using my school district issued laptop and I didn't have any issues logging onto it. I don't think students would have any issues. However, I think if the district blocks it or something, that I would be able to contact the IT department and they could probably unblock it for me. So there aren't really any issues with accessibility. It's pretty user-friendly from a teacher standpoint. It's very organized. And then, like I said, when the students log in, they'll only see what the teacher uploaded to the dashboard. So overall, I think this is a pretty cool website and it offers a lot of great educational games and diagrams and resources. However, you do have to pay for a lot of it, so that kind of stinks. But the subscription does not cost a lot. So I feel like, the little bit of payment you have to do up front, then, there's a lot of different resources that can be used. I see myself, if I were to purchase this, I could see myself using it in the classroom as like additional practice activities. I would just have a couple things on there that students can log in and practice on whatever we're learning that week. I don't see it really as an adaptive software that'll help them fill those gaps, but I think of this more as like a time filler or extra practice sort of thing that students can work on if they finish an activity early or if they just need to fill time with something. This could be a really easy resource that they can log into and get started right away.